All right, hello everybody. Thank you for joining us on our first ever pod info session here. Thanks for coming. We're here to help and answer any questions and tell you a little bit about some education options that you may want to take advantage of now that we're facing a lot of virtual schooling. We can basically go ahead and get started. I don't know, Stacy. I think there were a couple questions off the bat, or should I go ahead and jump right into the presentation?
I can jump right in, and we can do questions at the end. It'd be great.
Okay, sounds great. Well, my name is George Ramsay. I am the co-founder of Bold Music Lessons here in Charlotte. We recently, during COVID, pivoted to a lot of virtual instruction. Going into the summer and then coming out of the summer, we're continuing to reinvent how people learn their music, and we've this fall in different ways. So with music, I've got a degree in music from Davidson College. We've been running this business here for almost 7 years. So we kind of know what we're doing. We know it's important. Kids, obviously, at a young age, really benefit from learning music and learning it the right way. So that's where we come in. And with that, I will go right into the presentation. And is the glare distracting?
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Okay. Well, okay. I don't really know what to do about it. All right, so let's go right into it. So we've been hearing a lot, especially over the summer, and then now going back to when kids are a lot of kids are doing virtual learning, which is like basically full time, all day in front of a screen. Virtual fatigue, Zoom fatigue, is a real thing. It can be difficult for a kid for many reasons. Paying attention while watching a screen all day, and not being totally there in person and not being totally plugged in requires a lot more focus, like I said here, and you don't get the same kind of social cues that you might get in person. It's much easier to get distracted and take out your phone and watch videos or just sort of zone out altogether. So it can be pretty exhausting. And of course, learning virtually, you're not with your friends and you're not with people. So, kids especially are starting to, kids tend to internally process quite a bit. And it's definitely a challenge when you are stuck at home by yourself in a closet. I have a friend whose youngest kid does his school in a closet. You're not with friends. You're not enjoying that. You're not getting stimulation from friends. So, and another thing, virtual fatigue. A lot of people have a really tough time, almost like with like stage fright or like Zoom fright, where you're put on the spot. Your face is being beamed to the whole class, and you're put on the spot to answer a question. So there's various reasons for virtual fatigue. It's sort of one of those things. One of the benefits about learning music and doing either lessons with us virtually or in person, virtually with us, is learning music does not require a screen. So whether you're doing a virtual lesson, a virtual pod session with your class, that may be once a week, and you've got an entire week to practice whatever it is that you're supposed to be practicing, and you don't ever need a screen for that. Okay. And everyone out there in the crowd, feel free to chime in. If you have questions, you can type them in the chat and we'll get them answered. Why is music important? We all kind of intrinsically know this, internally know this, but there's also evidence, scientific, scholarly, peer-reviewed evidence as to why music is important for young kids. It reduces mental fatigue. So I played a little guitar at the beginning of this. A lot of times, if I'm stressed out, pick up a guitar, play some music, automatically calms me down. I can say the same for pretty much all of my students. Learning music teaches you about the relationship between time. Teaches you about time and timing. Gives you better reaction time. Gives you improved dexterity. You learn how to cope with anxiety. I talk about stage fright all the time. I mean, we can maybe getting up in front of a group and presenting a project at school or something like that. Getting up in front of people and playing music can be very, very scary. So practicing and learning how to play an instrument with the end goal of sometimes performing really teaches you how to cope and manage with stress, with anxiety, with nerves. And of course, there's a lot of literature out there that talks about the benefits to your brain. Kids that learn music at a young age do better in school. They do better in life. Typically, you learn things like retention better. And so there's all sorts of behavioral and cognitive benefits. Any questions? Okay. Like I said, just ask any questions if you want. Welcome, Miss Callie, to the presentation here. You learn your STEM subjects at school, and those are all really important. But music is an important thing to learn as well. And what we're seeing during the pandemic is it's become a lot less accessible. So it's a lot harder to learn music because you're not going to your band class every day. Even private instruction has become virtual or just has stopped. So taking a gap year at a young age from learning music is no bueno, in my opinion. So we're all about figuring out good solutions, things that can help kiddos continue to learn music. Early as probably June or July, we started hearing things about learning pods, and essentially our understanding of what pods are, just they're groups of students that instead of sitting at home by themselves and having their parents go through their school curriculum with them, they congregate in groups, either virtually or in person. And either like a parent, either a parent who kind of knows what they're doing, or even like a hired tutor or a teacher comes in and guides them, rather than every parent kind of having to figure it out on the fly. So it's kind of a neat and there's some ingenuity there that's been obviously wouldn't happen without the hand that we've been dealt with this pandemic. We're working with a couple of families with a couple of different pods, and one of the things that's accessible is everyone kind of pools their resources together, so things typically aren't extraordinarily expensive for any one individual, and of course you're getting interaction with a teacher or with different parents, and most importantly with classmates and students. So we're definitely big fans of pods, and we've got a variety of different resources that are available to pods in different sizes, different age groups, and different iterations. Were there any questions there?
No question. There's several questions. I think we'll just leave them to the end. I just want to add to that, just knowing some people.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. My name is Stacy Perulis. I'm the new kid on the block at Bold Music. Just joined in the summer, although I've been around as a Bold Music parent for several years. Both my boys take private lessons. And actually, that was a point I was going to make earlier, is going back to the anxiety piece. Is my older son really has used music. I've noticed since the start of the pandemic, it's really been what he gravitates towards, and I see that he he needs it actually. And so it's kind of lovely to see that happening to a 15-year-old with his guitar. But in terms of the learning pods, which I think is, like you said, it's really an ingenious thing, and people are really coming together to make this right for their kids. What I'm understanding from a lot of schools is that even though there is still music being offered to their kids, is that it's not, it's maybe like a 5-minute recorded session versus an actual session of class live that you're being taught. So it really is watered down. And it's and that goes for a lot of the enrichment type programs in school right now. So I do think this is a way to integrate it back into the kids' weekly lives.
Could not agree more. Yeah, it's as a music guy, it's definitely sad right now to see how much more challenging it is to just play and learn music. I mean, even professional musicians are having a hard time. They're having to basically live stream from home, but you're not seeing this. Music is definitely taking a hit right now, but it can still be done, and we're here to help make it happen. Look at that. So how can Bold Music help? We've got a few different options, and we're really open to kind of tailoring our offerings to whatever suits each pod based on age, size, location, all that kind of stuff. So the most common.
That's what we.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's really what we
Aaron,
tried to do when we developed the menu, if you will, of pod offerings. It's important that the business, Bold Music, be responsive to what all of these different pods are attempting to develop. We're working with families who had kids in the public school system and are now creating a pod. We're trying to work with families that have been in a homeschool network and are creating a different type of pod. And because people and these groups have different needs, the business is trying to be flexible to support this type of controlled group learning. And although ultimately our business experience shows us that weekly lessons are really important, given the time and the constraints on people's time, we do think bi-weekly options are also can be effective, especially if we do a multi-layered approach, maybe doing some instrumentation as well as music history and music theory. We think there's different types of education that are effective for different age groups, to George's point. So, with some of the younger kids, we're starting on simpler instruments like ukuleles and xylophones. We're certainly happy to work with larger groups and ensembles doing things like guitar, piano, and voice. We're really able to develop a customized pod experience based on whatever need that you have. And we're really happy to do that if you contact the office. We're very interested to making the experience be tailored exactly to your needs.
And I would just add to that this is actually nothing new for us. I mean, we've been doing these types of things in different forms and fashions since we started the company. We've worked in ensembles and groups with kids of all different ages, starting as young as preschool with our Junior Jammers program, all the way up actually till like we have a jazz group of almost retired adults. So teaching music privately is kind of the bread and butter of what our business has done since we've been in business, so like individual lessons, but we've always complemented that with different ensemble offerings. So we've got our staff has been doing this for a long time already. We can kind of cross all sorts of different instrument ranges, types of ensembles, genres. So what's great is it's really malleable to kind of whatever needs there might be. Now, with my background and the background of our staff, being musicians first, I mean, we really do also understand, given a certain age and an interest level and an aptitude, we have a pretty good understanding of what would be important for a group and a pod to really focus on. So, as we plan our curriculum, we're taking into account the exact makeup of every pod. So, yeah, really, really great stuff. So
actually, real quick,
can I go back?
If you want to, it doesn't really matter. I mean, Kara, I think I would love to I think if you touched a little bit on the very first pod that we signed on with that we're going to be working with. I think it's fun to note some of the things that they're going to be working on. I know you said the xylophone and the ukuleles, but they're also going to work on kind of a performance aspect at the end too. Is that right?
Oh,
Yeah,
wait.
what was
Kara, can you
interesting.
introduce yourself real quick too? Who are you for all the
Who
listeners
am
out there?
I?
Yeah.
My name is Kara, and I am a program manager at Bold Music. I have had the profound pleasure of working with George for 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
I know, it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. But to Stacy's question, what was really great in our creation of the first pod that will be rolling out in September, this group is 10 first grade girls, and they all love Taylor Swift. So it was really fun speaking to the mom who's acting as the pod coordinator to get a sense of the music interest of the girls, and then to work with our instructors to take the portfolio of Taylor Swift songs and look at how we can change the guitar instrumentation to ukulele instrumentation to make it effective for these 10-year-olds to learn and play in a little girl band, if you will. So one of the goals in the customized curriculum is to look at this portfolio of 24 songs that we've narrowed down in the 4 major chords to really help this be a scheduled learning environment for the kids. So hopefully by the time we have their winter performance, they'll be able to play not only perhaps a holiday song or two, but they'll also have a repertoire of Taylor Swift songs, which if they're playing music that they enjoy and can relate to and love, they'll be so much more inclined to practice. And that's really where the love of music starts. It's taking what you hear on the radio and being able to create it for yourself. And if they're making music that they love, they're going to be so much more inclined to practice, and they'll look forward to working with the pod every week. So I was really glad to have the time to work with their pod coordinator to make sure that our curriculum really matched perfectly with their interests.
And to toot Kara's horn a little bit too. I mean, this is what we do. It's not just a, hey, give us a call, we'll send somebody out there. I mean, Kara's spent countless hours on the phone, exchanging emails, really getting a firm understanding of exactly what the objectives are for any given pod. Specifically this group of first graders that I cannot wait to go watch, learn.
It's gonna be awesome.
And so it's really hands on. That's just how we approach things. We know that every group is different, and you'll definitely be in good hands with us. I can't remember if there was one other thought. Oh, Stacy, there were some questions.
Yes, some pre-submitted questions.
Right.
So we'll just get to those quickly. The first one was about cost. What is the cost structure of the pod?
Yep. So we kind of tailor that as well. So there's not one firm answer there. I will say, obviously, the more frequently they meet, we can usually cut a little bit of a better deal. But it depends on the size, the duration, and how often they meet. What we've seen so far is and we typically charge per student, and either the pod coordinator will pay for everybody together, and they figure it out on their own, or we do all the billing for each individual member of the pod. We typically charge by per student, and that rate is between $15 and $30 per session per student, again depending on the size and all that. So yeah, that's a good and important question. But I should also note that we're these are uncharted territories. These are new times, different times. We're more than willing to work with people to find a solution that fits different budgets.
Right. Every situation is going to be different, more than likely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It was a separate question, but piggybacking is how do we handle equipment? Do we need to have our own equipment, or do we need to purchase for instruments and things like that?
That's a great question. Fortunately, we've got a relationship with a wholesaler, so we can actually provide all the instruments that you would need, ranging from little rhythm sticks, tone bells, all the way up to guitars, keyboards, all that kind of stuff. So we can certainly take care of that for you. We can also suggest equipment that would be recommended for you to go out, for people to go out and get themselves. Kara, did you have any?
We're fortunate that we have an existing wholesale relationship. So not only in our private lesson business, if people better for them than they would a relationship. And the same is true with the pod. And order online or go to any of the local music shops to purchase an instrument. But if you are a group and you're going to be purchasing instruments as a group, we most likely will be able to do better for you because of our wholesale relationship. It does take, we're not an overnight organization like Amazon. It does take a little bit of lead time if you're wanting to buy, 5 keyboards and 3 guitars, but we can do that for you, and we will be able to give you a very good price.
And on top of that, I mean, one of the benefits, and again, it doesn't really matter how you get your stuff, but yes, we can help, and we have the benefit of kind of being able to vet all the equipment ahead of time, so you know that what you're going to get through us is going to be of good quality
instrument.
Yeah, good question. Any other questions? Who else is that? Callie, did you have a question out there? Maybe not. All right. Just checking.
There was one more from.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And this actually may not be clear to everyone. Are we talking about live sessions or virtual sessions when we talk about pods?
That's a great question. I think live instruction, especially in ensemble groups, like playing together, is obviously the best way to play music together. You can't actually play together live all in different places virtually. That being said, we can offer instruction both in person in the Charlotte area, possibly in the Raleigh area, but we're a little bit shorter staffed in Raleigh. So we can do in-person pods here in Charlotte and virtual pods, meaning maybe pods are all together or not, and we could beam in virtually from here with our staff. So we can actually do both. And it really depends on people's comfort level. I will say our typical agreement with the pods in person is everyone wears a mask. We keep social distancing, and taking climate into account, we want to be outside whenever possible. So we definitely, safety is crucially important. But for those who it's just not possible to do in person, immunocompromised, all that kind of stuff, we can do a virtual option, and we can also do a hybrid option. So if you're part of a pod and maybe you're taking the day off, or you might unfortunately be sick and you're at home, we also have the capability of doing simultaneous in person and some people zooming in virtually. So we're, again, really like all this, we're very flexible in that regard. And I will say, regarding the virtual side of things, we've actually been fortunately ahead of the curve throughout this entire pandemic. We actually implemented video lesson software back in February before the pandemic hit. It was actually just a policy thing. So all of our staff was trained well in advance. We kind of were working out the kinks well in advance. So we've been doing this virtual thing for a while now. We feel very good about it, very confident with it, and we've actually seen great results all around. So whether it's in person or in virtual, we know we can do a good job.
I think it's worth saying too. I mean, I think on our end, we're doing our best to be creative and trying to find ways to support people during these times. But I think it's worth saying that if you're out there and you're looking for solutions, be creative with us and let us know what your ideas are too. I think this is a time to be collaborative, which is what music's all about. So I think
True that.
Well said, Stacy.
Oh, I figured out how to get rid of my glare. I can just sit here. Right at the end.
Now that it's over.
Right at the end. Well, I mean, I guess if that's it, that's basically all I've got. You can see here, if you're interested, you can reach out to us, boldmusiclessons.com. There's a contact place. Actually, you can even chat us on the homepage there. You can follow us on social media at Bold Music Lessons on Instagram. You can call. Very, very approachable. We love to talk to you. And like Stacey said, we'd love to, if pod to look like, let us know, and we'll see. We're very flexible. We're really ready to work with you. So just let us know, and I'm sure we can come to some solution that's going to be really helpful for your kiddos.
Thank you, George.
Oh, thank you guys.
Thanks, guys. That was
This went
great.
great.
All right.
Great.
take
Yeah.
care.
Thanks for
Bye.
tuning in.